Alright, we've got a box with this week's new stuff. Oh wow. I should get it started. Let's just toss that aside before we get started on these. Two other things. So first of all, new Switch game, Dragon Quest Builders. This was released for the PS4 before, but as far as I can tell, it's fairly well received. It's Minecraft, except with a Dragon Quest theme, which seems right up my alley. And then we've got a Hentai, Too Hot for Teacher. Absolutely not for children. They're a little pervy on the back, but I don't know. I think the more interesting thing is actually the inside, which I'm going to actually do slightly off the side of the screen, assuming I can get a hand on it. Because, you know, I guess it's barely not pervy enough, but I'm kind of curious because I think that's purple. It seems a lot less purple than I'm used to seeing. But that's what I've been seeing with a lot of, especially hentai releases, is, yeah, things. So, here we go. So let's start going through these. First up, we've got, I'm going to get this out just in case. We got Food Wars Second Plate, which would be the second season of this. So, there we go. I'm just getting it started there. And I remember the first season was enjoyable. It was a little incomplete. This one should still be dubbed, right? Yeah, I see it English and I see region A. That might be consistent with what the first season did, but let's get in here. Okay, this is opening pretty easily. Wow, it's kind of cold. It's almost like it's cold outside and this has been inside a storage locker or parcel locker. So, being that this is a Sentai release, which I can confirm with the other one laying down over there, we've got 3 discs, and if we take a look at this, it's probably, well, it's not the same. So, it's always neat when Sentai does this. I guess maybe because there's probably a special edition version of this. But yeah, discs 1 and 2 in the Blu-ray version are different from discs 1 and 2 in the DVD version. Excellent. Next up we have Monster Hunter Stories Ride On Season 1 Part 1, which I don't know what to think about. I see it's regions A and B. It's English dubbed. And it's Monster Hunter, but it is more maybe kid-oriented Monster Hunter. It's really hard to tell because sometimes the chibification of monsters like this could be a ruse. This doesn't seem like one, but then again, that's exactly what a ruse would seem like. Let's set this down, and first of all, take a look. Disc 1 and upside down to Disc 1 DVD version and Disc 2 DVD version. And you could see the background art. The cat is a little fat. I forgot what they're called. Because I think Molliences are those thieving little bastards, and I don't remember what the white ones are. Oops. Next up we have Pokemon the Movie I Choose You. Catch 'em all starts with 1. Okay. And this is kind of nice. It's nice that these Pokemon movies keep coming out. Alright, I get to use this. It's nice that they keep coming out because I need to watch, and I can't watch everything. I just always fall behind on everything. Oh well. My hobby isn't even necessarily watching everything, but just enjoying what I can. And when people ask, I never really say I'm a master of anime, just of anime DVDs and Blu-rays. And that's consistent with not necessarily watching them all, but collecting them all. Although I'm guessing that it would be more impressive if I did both. Anyways, let's see. I see this here says it's region A, and this is of course English audio, English subtitles. So it's still not Japanese. There we have inside of that, and I can't even get this damn thing out. Huh. There we go. So, why is Piplup in there? Why is the Cario? I'm definitely very curious. DVD version, mostly the same. I see the Blu-ray symbol there and DVD symbol there, the same insert, which I just threw to the side like a fucking idiot. And I'm guessing that, yeah, it's just a plain white cover on the inside, but that's expected. It just would have been really surprising if we had looked and the inside artwork of the Blu-ray just happened to be there for the DVD version. I'm not sure if it makes a big difference, but it would have been interesting. Next up, we've got Akiba strip, unless that's Akiba S trip. This is the animation. Could also be Akiba's trip. Akiba's trip. What? Okay. Let's see. Back. It's region A only. It's English dub. Stripping saves the day, so it's probably. I'm wondering if it's a combination of Akiba's strip, and if when I look here, Akiba strip, it's saying Akihabara, and so I think it's referencing to kind of stripping and Akihabara. I don't know if that means taking off clothes or if it means like a strip or section of area. Very confusing. It'd probably be less confusing if I actually read what the back was saying. You've got very basic things, and okay, this looks more idolish, so I don't know that strip as in take off clothes makes sense. And I also can't tell because I keep moving this around, but I'm not sure if that white-haired person in the very back is a guy or a girl. I'd ask Professor Oak, but he's obviously really bad at that. We've got Touken, Ranbu, Hanamaru. It's a mouthful, and I do like the feudal era look. Unsheath the Past. This one's region A only, and it's English dub. It's kind of nice that there's a lot of things that are English dubbed. It means that there's a lot of potential things I could put on and maybe not think too much about. Although at the same time, oh dear, jeez. Well, it obviously got nicked really bad there, but the good news is the packaging is still otherwise good. The DVDs, actually, yeah, that says DVDs, so I guess this is Blu-ray. The Blu-rays are pink. Huh. It looks like we've got more of a reversible cover sort of deal than a thing. Oh jeez, it's not closing. How does something like that happen? More importantly, how does it happen and not damage things? So I guess before I continue on with that, I'm going to press a couple of computer buttons because over here we're going to very quickly look at this. I don't know when I'll get the video together, putting these together, but you may have recalled there were two computers here. And now there are still two computers here, but they are, massive hard drives in a much more fancy setup. And if I open the top one here, and you see that there's 8 of 12 up here, although one of these is a little slow and I have to still look into why that is. But this was the computer thing I was working on. There's also this nifty drawer. So these are supposed to be rack mounted. I left the things on the side, but stacking them just like this was fine. And since the drives are a little more mixed now, it doesn't make as much sense to call them anime and non-anime. So instead, I've themed them based on chocolate and vanilla. Assuming I'll switch over, which I think is pretty cool. Servers are working a lot better. I have another one to update, but that is that, and maybe I'll talk about that later, but it won't be as interesting to display. So that's this week's anime DVD collection update. For stuff I've watched, I think I started maybe watching Love Lab last week, and I got through all of it, and actually I thought it was pretty good. There's something viscerally satisfying about the ending it approached, I guess. And it wasn't the most fun thing I've seen getting up to that point, but it wasn't very unenjoyable. I guess, I don't know, I'm feeling like my words are very basic. But overall, you can definitely tell they did a lot of things just to make sure there were quirky animations for all the characters. I'm actually surprised I haven't seen more GIFs from this show, because it seems designed for a lot of it, whereas one that I can really think of I saw in the first episode. But yeah, overall, it was a nice watch. About my only complaint is I kind of want to punch all of the people who run the school in the gut because they're kind of dicks, but So, next up I watched Keijo, and I'm trying to think how to bring everything I've thought together, especially since I keep trailing off and thinking of other things. Overall, the swimsuitness of it didn't really appeal to my specific taste in swimsuits per se, because it's less of a swimsuit anime and more of a butts and boobs kind of show. And if you accept the absurdity it has, it's actually kind of fun in that regard. It's definitely not the best playing around with that sort of stuff I've seen, but, or at least the most that I've enjoyed, but overall, it was kind of fun. If I were to summarize it a little bit better than what you might have seen here, it's basically girls on little things in the water attacking each other with their boobs and their butts. And while that might sound dainty, this show decides to go over the top with a lot of this stuff, some of it not even making sense. But outside of that, it's kind of an enjoyable underdog sports team sort of show. It's definitely not up there with Girls in Panzer in terms of unexpectedly mixing things like that, but it's still, I can see why one of my subscribers mentioned that they were kind of on the edge episode to episode. It maybe, I don't know if it really loses a lot binge watching it. You know how sometimes you binge watch something and it's not as great as going from episode to episode? I remember my Hime kind of being that way. When I was watching it episode to episode way back in the day, it was the most exciting thing ever, and it's got cool parts in it, but I kind of remember the binge watching, the pacing feels different. It's also possible that's a rewatching thing, but I think, I don't know. There's a lot of jumble of thoughts in there, but overall, Keijo was kind of amusing. This time I just wanted to punch that entire team. They were a bunch of unsportsman pieces of shit, but, you know, the show's kind of like, okay, well, after this, they're all good. And, last but not least, I started watching Flying Witch. I know Yuri on Ice was kind of on top there, but I was afraid that Yuri on Ice might actually be a little competition-y, and I wanted something to kind of mellow me out from just wanting to strangle certain people in Keijo. So I figured Flying Witch was a good choice there, and I'd say that it's actually been a pretty good choice. It's definitely very relaxed, but I do like the just general feel of just the slice of lifeiness it does. It's a little, I don't know. I know, like, first episode, it kind of felt like a non-Miyazaki-ish version of Kiki's Delivery Service, without, you know, Kiki choosing to be a delivery and a talking cat, but implying that the cat was kind of understood. You know, it's definitely more laid back, and you're kind of like, okay, I'm wanting to see this witch lady, you know, kind of go there and see stuff. And the episodes after that don't feel the same because it's got a different goal, which is probably a good thing because Kiki's Delivery Service is a little abrupt, I guess, with the way it ends. Oh well. And I think that was all the anime I've watched. I mean, I'm watching more, rewatching Psyche K, and that really is a good show. But outside of that, I guess I watched a couple more episodes of the Orville, and I have to give Seth MacFarlane some credit here. He made an episode that was still so very Trek, but pushed buttons harder than I've ever seen them pushed before. So I'm usually not a fan of legal or religious sort of episodes of, especially something like Star Trek, where, you know, they're both kind of the same. They're people with some shitty system of rules, and our main characters aren't allowed to use their superior technology to smite their fucking asses because they're a bunch of jackasses who don't deserve it. You know, it's sort of like there's that episode of The Next Generation where I guess the technology was kind of the opposite direction, but it's like, oh, you accidentally tripped and fell on a flower bed. Well, that's execution. It's like absurd. And these tend to overlap quite a bit. I don't know. And episode 7 of the Orville was kind of along these lines, except also covering a couple other philosophical concepts and expressing something that we see, which is basically mixed all these stuff with the online witch hunting mob emotions that you kind of see on the internet nowadays. And, you know, since that's a frustrating thing, it works very well, and at the same time they don't go out of character like they're doing something that's just not the Orville. The Orville explores these things, and I kind of appreciate the fact that it feels like it's pushing buttons in different ways. So looking past the crude humor, I do kind of like the moral ambiguity it explores, and not in the, oh, everything's dark and evil like a whole lot of Stargate Universe or something would have done. And I guess I pick on Stargate Universe, but the truth of the matter is I think he kind of picked it up from Battlestar Galactica, which was probably fine with it, but, you know, it doesn't mean everybody handles that right. So, I don't know. It's all stuff. I haven't been, I don't know, am I thinking or not thinking about stuff? As you can tell, I've been hard at work cleaning up a lot of the unprocessed DVDs here. This is the only pile that remains. These are actually just stuff I need to watch. And then all this stuff back here I should probably finally start tackling. Which, part of building those servers was giving myself not only more space for more drives if I want more, but an 8 terabyte drive to work with so that I can rip this pile of Blu-rays back here and some non-anime Blu-rays, and probably delete some Blu-rays that DVD versions of already on the server, but also re-rip some Blu-rays that I previously had on there but deleted, like Puella Magica Madoka Magica Rebellion, the Japanese version of that, and I'll probably also get the first 2 movie versions as well. Those had some very spectacular menus. That would be very nice to, you know, have access to those. And there may be some other things, like I think I might have a DVD version of Advent Children, but I remember the Blu-ray menu actually being pretty cool for that. So I might grab little things like that as part of my, oh, what if I want to watch this on my new streaming server? Which, it's fun to play with.
I'm not sure that it'll be as useful for other people, but once I feel like it's at a good place, I'll probably put it on GitHub or something like that. It really depends if I feel like it can do what I want it to do, and I don't know if it'll be as useful because, again, it might be very specific to my personal setup, but I don't know. At a minimum, if people follow me and they're kind of curious, it would be a good introduction to Spring Boot if you've played a little Java but haven't had a chance to play with it yet, because it's pretty cool. But I think I'm digressing. I should probably end this now. Y'all, have a nice week.